What's up, you guys? We are back with another episode of the DISHIN podcast, episode 25.
We got into some playoff talk. We also got into a little bit of a critical thinking conversation about creativity in hockey, kind of where everything is at with the streetwear collabs that we've seen lately. We're also starting to introduce a couple sponsors to the show, some brands that we've worked with up until this point that are a family of our brands, so really excited about that.
And yeah, episode 25, live now. Let's go. All right, welcome back to another episode of the DISHIN podcast, episode 25.
25 pieces of these, man. Yeah, I like it.
Stick taps. Let's go. We've been on a hiatus, but took off for a few weeks. Had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of travel. It's always a super busy time of year for us with NHL playoffs here. And but before we even get into anything, we know we've been doing a lot of different show and tell pieces with you guys over the last 25 episodes almost now. And a lot of those show and tell items that we've shown on this podcast are going to start slowly becoming sponsors of the pod. So without further ado, talking about Best Damn Tape. That was a product we really enjoyed showing you guys. Got a lot of great feedback on that. Awesome company, clear tape, white tape, you name it, they've got it. Super fun. I think when we had them on, I think I actually taped a stick.
Yeah, we did. So. Yeah, we should look back and see what episode that was. But yeah, Best Damn Tape, man. I think they're based out of Columbus. Our boy Logan runs that brand. And yeah, he was nice enough to send us some product. And we did some testing on our own and, found to really take a liking to it. And I think that's the thing, too, is like we're starting to grow the podcast. Obviously, the brand is pretty established. And, we want to start working with brands that are familiar with us, that we're familiar with, that we can just really have a part of our family here. And, I think Best Damn Tape and another one that we'll get into later in the podcast are two that are pretty important to us and two that we're excited for an immediate working relationship, but also what's more to come between, products that they're going to be rolling out and stuff that we're going to be doing together. So, yeah, I'm excited for all that.
Yeah, and collaboration, too, because I know the one you're going to mention later on in this episode, you do a ton of work with as it is, and maybe we can even get into that maybe on this episode or another one, but I'd like to ask you specifically some questions on some projects that you've worked on with this specific company, but we'll get into that later on in the episode. But excited to be back. Derek, how you feeling over there?
Not too bad. We got a nice little gloomy day here in Buffalo. It makes our jobs a little easier here on the podcast, but yeah, no, it's a good one. Stanley Cup Finals, not Stanley Cup Finals, playoffs are rolling, and it's been fun watching hockey.
One thing I will say, too, is the set might look a little different than it has in the past, and another exciting development we're working on is we're going to be completely transforming our set. So we're going to have a set in the back, a new room that's going to be dedicated just to the podcast. So it's going to be a lot easier on us. We're going to be able to walk in, record right away, and I think ultimately just like jazz the entire space up. Kind of keep it pretty consistent to what we have right now, just kind of look and feel and everything. But yeah, I'm excited about that because something that's going to be permanent for us, and we can add different creatives and sponsorships as we please, and something that we can make our own.
Yeah, it'll be nice too because we always transform the front of the shop when we do these episodes. We always transform it into the podcast area. And then after that, we just turn it back into the front room, and that's kind of it. So it'll be nice to have a spot where we can just go in and record right away and not spend a half hour or 45 minutes just redecorating the place. So super excited for that. Speaking of the future of the podcast too, I know we've talked a lot about having guests on. We're in the process of lining up some more guests for this summer once the hockey season's over with, so we're super stoked about that. And yeah, we got a lot of exciting things going on with the pod right now.
Yeah, I feel like whenever we take a little bit of time off like this, we come back super refreshed with new content, new ideas. Everything is kind of taking that next step forward. So yeah, it's all good stuff. But yeah, back to the playoff talk. You've been traveling, bro. Talk about that a little bit. I know you went to Carolina. Mm-hmm. And then where'd you go before that?
Toronto.
Toronto, too.
And even before Toronto, I was in Dallas. So
yeah. So why don't you back all the way up? What's like the 2025 playoffs been like so far, would you say, for you traveling and also kind of a fan of the game, watching the sports and just being in some of these incredible atmospheres?
Yeah. For one, I've watched a lot of hockey in the last month and a half now. I know Derek has too, just being with the league now, and he's on edit shifts too. So he's just as involved as I am, even though he might not be traveling. And I want to talk to him about this too. But
no doubt.
I think just from the start, playoffs are always fun. It's very high pressure for all these teams. It's high pressure for the content people that are there. It's high pressure for everybody. A lot of moving parts, a lot of travel, but it's been really fun. I really enjoy going to new cities, new arenas, and just seeing how, certain arenas operate, certain teams in those arenas operate. I've talked about it on previous episodes, but one thing I really try to do when I'm on the road, especially going to a new arena that I'm not familiar with, is going there early and learning the whole lay of the land, like understanding the fastest way to get to a media room from my shooting position, or what's the quickest way to get to the bench, because sometimes I'm on the bench for warm-ups. Then what's the fastest way to get from the bench to my shooting position, because sometimes I'm shooting up top, sometimes I'm shooting on the glass. So but that's been fun. Dallas is a crazy atmosphere to be in. I was fortunate enough to be with BR Open Ice and TNT with that crew in Toronto for Game 7, which was incredible. Had a glass spot for that too. It would have been cool seeing Toronto win that one, I think, in Game 7, but I think Florida right now has just so much depth. And if anybody's has been paying attention to playoffs, Florida is like, watching them play is incredible. Yeah. I mean, every guy is producing, every guy is showing up, and they're just playing with so much confidence right now, and that's just been fun to see. Derek, I know you've been on some edit shifts too. What has it been like for you so far? What's been the most interesting part of all of this so far for you?
Just seeing all the different content from the different markets, and just seeing all the playoff atmospheres. It's really cool to see, behind the scenes, like photos of just fans and stuff, and it's always cool to see how each team does up their game presentation for the playoffs, whether it's rally towels, loved seeing, was seeing in the last round before Washington got eliminated was they were doing really cool designs with rally towels on their seats, like different words and stuff spread out. So just arena presentation looks really cool. And then just also seeing, I feel like the playoff fits, the guys step it up a little bit. They're a little bit more, except for Connor McDavid. The guy's rocking the same fit every single time, but he has the right to do so. Yeah. So. But yeah, no, it's been cool to see. It's been busy, but love the, same thing like Nick said, the high pressure situations. It's fun. It's also just cool just being able to watch the games and then know when you're going to get busy. Like you are watching the games just as, right alongside as the LSCs that are on site. And yeah, you get to kind of just focus on a little less games, because usually during the regular season we're working on sometimes 6-7 games at a time, and now it's only right now it's only one, but before it was 2 or 3, so it's a little easier to focus and you can watch a little bit more hockey.
I feel like edit shifts are dope because you're almost like the air traffic controller of these games, because you have a 6 setup at home, the 3 monitors, and I don't know, like you said, you're watching all these games go down at once. You're seeing a play happen, and then you're kind of anticipating it okay, this is something that's going to be huge, viral, need to post this, be a part of this right now. You're kind of seeing all the different communication elements of other people talking in there. Yeah. And no, Joe, I think that's really cool. It's almost like you're a part of the game. You're almost underground at the arena. And I think it's an underrated appreciation post to what you guys do, of being a part of the editing channel, everybody across from the LSCs too. So,
and it's really cool to see you never know what you're going to end up getting. The goal might have been sick, but did the LSC have an angle on that? You never know. So it's always just all right, you just keep hitting a refresh or waiting for it to come in. And sometimes it's going to be a huge viral moment, or sometimes, someone just got the celly just because they were blocked by a ref or a fan or something like that. The fans definitely come way more into play now that it's playoff atmosphere. It's a lot more blockage. People are standing all the time, so it's a little bit more difficult to shoot. So hats off to all the LSCs around the league and Nick for everyone creating really cool content. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, it's been fun. And like you said too, the playoff atmospheres are crazy. Carolina actually tailgates before all their games. So
That's
all
sweet.
The fans go there and tailgate. I've never seen a hockey tailgate like that before.
Caniacs. That's what they call themselves.
Yeah, dude. It was actually pretty sick. They had beautiful weather down there too. So that was really cool to see. I mean, I've never seen people really tailgate for hockey games like that before. I mean, people got grills out, they're drinking beers, or it's very it's family friendly, and it's also kind of a party atmosphere in a way. And the cool part about it too, and one of the guys that Derek and I know, Nick Spina, he was telling me that he works for Carolina. He was telling me that because NC State has their football field right across the road from the Hurricanes arena, that when there's a football game and a hockey game on the same day, it's just an incredible atmosphere to be around.
It's probably chaos.
So imagine like the Bills and the Sabres or someone having their places right next to each other like that. Like that would be insane.
That'd be nuts.
Is the tailgates are sponsored by the team? Like the kind of put on by the team?
I think so. There's like certain areas of the tailgate that like the team will set up. They'll set up, little bounce houses
still
and
cool.
cornhole and things like that.
They're making it a thing
about
the team presence. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's cool. And that building's pretty loud too.
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised at how loud it got in that building. But even speaking of playoffs, I don't want to talk too much. I know we have a lot of other stuff we want to get into, but our playoff takes. I feel like I'm the only one still alive right now.
Yeah, I'm way out.
I'm cooked. I picked the Leafs and the Stars to get bounced, and I'm gone.
One's still in, other one's out. I had my finals were Avs Washington, so that says a lot. Washington thought could have done it. Avs that was pretty quick, but yeah.
And I said Carolina was going to go far, but right now they're 0-2 in the Eastern Conference, so who knows? I mean,
your take's still outlasting both of ours, so
The test of time.
yeah.
Just goes to show how crazy playoff hockey is. It's just the best, dude. Especially this year has been unbelievable. Just some of the last minute goals we've seen, last second goals really. Some of those buzzer beaters have just been nuts. So yeah, unpredictable completely. But yeah,
I feel like that's why it's always like, even if you like, this has been the most I've watched hockey in like years, like closely, like other teams other than Buffalo, I would say, like since I was like maybe like 13 or 14 really following the league. And even with all the knowledge, and like I'm sure your top analysts would say the same thing, it's like you kind of have a hunch, but it's literally that anything can happen. All those teams could easily win a Stanley Cup at any time. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of who gets hot, and you're kind of watching from a game to game basis of who's getting hot, and it can change from round to round too. So you never know.
Yep.
You mentioned something about sick plays, buzzer beaters, all of that stuff. Question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where does creativity in hockey start? Does it start on the pond or in the lab? Like, where does that start for you guys? Like, what's your guys' take on that? Maddie, I'll have you go first. I'm curious to know what your answer would be for this.
Yeah, I think the lab is like an extension of the pond, especially if you look at like the shop, what we do here. I think the creativity ultimately lives, and hockey's like the foundation of what we do. I think it's interesting too, because like all of us growing up, like everybody had different play styles. I think you even look like across the league, I think a lot of guys' play styles ultimately, I think, plays into a lot of their personality of what you do too. So I think hockey is almost like a universal language when it comes to a lot of the stuff that we do every day, and kind of ultimately like through different like relationships and connections we have throughout the sport and just life in general. Yeah, it's interesting, dude. I think just it's all related. It's all connected, and it's interesting you bring that up too, because like I think hockey's in such an interesting place right now because there's an all-time high of creators. I think that the game is in a place, viewership wise and content creation wise, where it's pretty unmatched, and I think it's comparable to some of the biggest sports in the world right now. We've seen with like Four Nations, some of the stuff that they've done lately, and be interested to what you guys think too. But I think we have a unique perspective of between creativity and hockey, of whether it exists on the pond or in the lab, because I think it's like a crossover of what we do with both. I think the pond is almost like an extension of our office and what we do on the rink every day. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's pretty cool, and for us to be able to be part of that and see it every day is even more special.
I'd have to say I think it starts in the pond or wherever you get your roots from, like just learning young. Last week we had the opportunity to film with Daryl Belfry. Won't go like too far into it, but one of the game's best coaches out there, works with some of the top players, and watching him break down some of these top players and their best skills, a lot of stuff is just like kind of, seemed like unteachable. Like you can teach it, like, and you can teach the routes, but a lot of the stuff that these guys are doing that sets them apart to be the next best player or the best creative players in the league, it just seems like it just like comes like very natural to them. Like they don't, it's hard to teach that. Like it's hard to break it down because it just seems like they've been doing it for so long for this way. And I feel like that starts by them just doing stuff on the pond and sticking with it and just like, oh, this works. Or, you know, it starts on the pond and then you might be one of the better players on the team and you realize like this can work against these players. So it's like going from the pond to real life, I guess, is that spark, I feel like, of creativity. But yeah, like to your point, Matt, I think it goes further than the rink too. I think some of the best creative players are also some of the best leaders as well, and you know, are thinking for themselves and coming up with new ways to develop the game and lead their teammates to, you know, winning or staying positive if they're on a, you know, not so good team. But yeah, I think it definitely starts at the grassroots, like pond level, like real young. I think you just like, there's kids that you just can see that have it. And it's like, it's crazy to think that, to make those judgments by like 8 or 10 years old. But I really think that that's where like you see it is like, if they've got it by then, like all the power to them. It, not saying that it can't be developed later, but I think their path to greatness or higher level is a lot easier then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say it's a mix of both. I like that you brought up Daryl Belfry too, because I mean, dude, Matt, this guy is so intelligent when it comes to the game of hockey, both on and off the ice. I mean, he has a book that he wrote called The Belfry Way. I read the first like 4 or 5 pages of that book because we had it at the studio when we were filming with him, just as like a little set piece, kind of how we have this all decorated. But dude, the way this guy sees the game is just incredible. And you could start with this guy, and I want to use him as an example too, because you could start with this guy in the pond, but then you can go in the lab and you can also learn some things from him that aren't necessarily on the pond that you can now take back to the pond or take back to the rink with you. Mm-hmm. You know, we've talked before about guys like Swaggy P, Pavel Barber, like those guys who are, you know, on social media running hockey camps they're doing different drills that are making these players think more creatively. Will some of this stuff happen in a game? Maybe, maybe not. And if it does happen in a game, at least these kids and this younger generation is now learning a new skill that they can take with them to the game and find ways to maybe get around a defenseman or get around, you know, maybe a defenseman, you know, is trying to get away from a forward, and how they create time and space. Like, what does that look like? So I really think it's a mix of both. And I like what you said too, like how you said, you know, hockey's in such a great spot right now too, you know, with that, and how every player kind of has like their own identity in a sense where, you know, guys can be creative and kind of be themselves and also take that into play, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I think it's starts with both. It's a mix of both for sure, especially in today's day and age with the internet. You've got videos you can watch online. You can take those videos and what you learn online and apply it to, again, things that you're doing at the rink, on the pond, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know, man. It's funny. Everybody sees the game differently. That's why it's a great slogan, I think, for us and everything that we see. I mean, ESPN, you saw they did that like VR thing like a couple of days ago. It'll be so interesting to see where hockey is at, viewed 5-10 years from now. There's already so many technological advancements.
I mean, you've got NHL goalies saying that they use Hockey Sense
Yeah.
as a daily training thing,
Stuff
just
like
to
that.
keep them, you know, their reaction times up type of thing. So
Yeah. Cool. I know earlier we had mentioned another sponsor that we are going to be working with. Just want to give a quick shout out to Men's League Sweaters, and the company that we worked with for the past few years now. We've worked with Steve and his team quite a bit now on some different projects, leading up to this point. One more notably has been working with Austin Alexander and some jerseys we helped him make for his dad clothing brand. So I just want to say that's one company that we're going to be working with pretty closely. We're excited about that. Maybe we can decorate the set a little bit with some jerseys. Maybe we get like a DISHIN jersey or something made. Could be cool.
I'd love also just to see, like, there's always such funny men's league teams that come from the men's league sweaters, and they do such a good job of, like, it's always such poppy like colors and stuff. That's always my favorite part about men's league, is just seeing the ridiculous names that people have. And
Yeah.
then typically if it's a really nice jersey, I'm always looking at it and it says men's league sweater right on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're a massive name right now too in hockey. I mean, if you're in the hockey culture and community and play and you don't know who these guys are, like that is insane. Because like they're making so many different jerseys. They did the Chicklets Cup jerseys the past few years, which have been sick.
Did the jerseys for Brody True too?
Yeah,
They got to be in almost every men's league all over the country.
And it's like they're quality jerseys. Like they are great fitting jerseys, and they get super creative with it too. And it's cool. I know like the one jersey you and Austin Alexander did for Austin's brand. That one came out so sick. That actually popped up in a content piece with William Nylander and the guys over at Sherwood. I don't know if you saw
no way.
that. Yeah,
No, I didn't
dude,
see
it's
that.
hilarious. Yeah, it's a funny video. Actually, we'll run the clip right here real quick.
Excuse me, Willie? Sorry to interrupt.
What's up?
I'm a big fan. And you know, if you're ever back in Toronto and you got some free days, I got a men's league team that plays every Wednesday. We'd love to have you. We're usually down bodies. This is, these are the Herons. That's my Friday night, but usually Wednesdays are when we need people. It's Division A. It's pretty quick. So, yeah. And if Chaser doesn't show up, I might have to throw you back on D, but it's a good group of guys. Great group of guys. You know what? Why don't I get your number down? And if you're interested and you got free time, I'll just throw you in the group chat, and then we can go from there.
All right, sounds good, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Just need to get your phone number to put... You know what? I see you're busy. I'll send you a DM, Styles. Send you a DM.
But yeah,
That's
it
dope.
was funny.
I didn't even know that. Dope. But yeah, leaning into that, I know they did some work more recently with Sana, a brand out of Detroit, where they did all the jerseys for them, and Sana had a streetwear collab with the Red Wings that they did. And Sana's been an unbelievable brand. If you guys aren't familiar with Sana, they're based out of Detroit, and they're a streetwear brand where they work with a lot of different athletes and celebrities and stuff. They've really hit the trifecta in Detroit. They've worked with the Pistons, Tigers, the Red Wings, and is there another team out there, a football team? The Lions, too. So 4 of them. Yeah, so they've done some great work, and I think that could lead us into our next conversation here. We've seen a lot of different streetwear collabs across the NHL and hockey recently, and I'll just pull like 3 of them that we've seen recently. We've got Bauer Kith, we've got CCM Supreme, and we've got, we'll say, Sherwood OVO. If we were to look at all of those, and we can do a little breakdown of like product of each, what do you guys think? Is there one that sticks out for you guys right away? We can look at some of the product and see, and we can kind of break everything down. But what do you guys think? It's been so interesting for me to be able to see, like, you know, which of these brands, iconic brands, you know, like Kith and you know, Supreme, some of these, and how they're like finding their way into hockey. I think a lot of it is through hockey jerseys, just nostalgia of that, and also that hockey's really due for a refresh when it comes to some creativity and fashion like that. So I think a lot of it's pretty natural. But what do you guys think? Does anything stick out to you right away?
Definitely the Supreme one. Noah at CCM always rocks that one. I've seen it. We've seen him a couple times in that, and it always just catches my eye. It's just such a clean jersey. It's not like too crazy, you know, keeping the Supreme, you know, clean cut look, but it's a nice touch. It looks really good, honestly.
Yeah. I really liked the Kith Bauer collab. I thought that was super clean. Adam put me on to Kith a couple of years ago, and I've been trying to follow them a little bit more as time's gone on, just how they do their campaigns, how they, you know, put out their products, how they display their products visually. And I really love the aesthetic that they have there. And Matt, you and I actually went to a skate a couple months ago where a kid actually had the Kith Bauer gloves on. He was wearing them.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, dude. And Matt was like, yo, look at that kid's gloves. He's got the Kith gloves. I'm like, no, he doesn't. No way.
Using them for just regular play.
Yeah, just
that's
we're
crazy.
playing pickup at a random skate in Buffalo, and this kid's just pulling up in Kith gloves.
Good for him.
They were
using
fire,
that,
though, dude.
honestly.
Yeah, they were sick.
I wouldn't doubt, like, probably 95% of the people that got those gloves probably put them on a shelf, and he's out here just ripping them in a pickup skate, which is awesome.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you gotta
I
love
thought that was a really cool collab. I liked that one because you kind of you weren't really expecting that, I don't think, and I thought it came very unexpected, and that's what I liked about it. And I feel like the Kith brand really does a lot of things like that. And that's what I enjoyed most about that.
Another one that
specifically.
we didn't talk about but made pretty big waves this year was NHL teaming up with Lululemon. That was another good one. Much more like gym attire style, but another big brand to see. But yeah, not streetwear. It's too much, but it was. I thought that one was another clean one. Just good to see. A brand that's probably never touched hockey before. Taking a dive in, and it's good that it's a good mainstream brand. Bringing
A little
light
fun
to it.
fact for that NHL Lulu mentioned there. So Lulu and NHL, that was the one that leaked the Sherwood Bedard signing because they posted that, and then Bedard had a Sherwood stick in that, and it got people thinking a little bit. And there was already some chatter before that.
Interesting.
But yeah, that Lulu
Wow.
campaign with Bedard was the one that broke the collab for them.
I remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That
So,
was
but
interesting.
yeah, it's cool. I feel like there's not many of them right now, and it's been cool to see which NHL clubs are partnering with who. We've seen Siegelman Stable do some stuff with the Rangers. We've seen Dime Montreal do some stuff with the Canadians. So there's a handful of them throughout the NHL and within hockey already. But I just always find it so interesting just to see like how some of these brands come together. I know Noah at CCM was talking to us quite a bit about the Supreme stuff, just how protective they are of their brand and their logo placement, as you should be for any of that stuff. But, I think it also comes down to a lot of who's going to have creative control out of this stuff. You think in a lot of collabs that it's 50-50, but I don't think it's always like that. I think, you got to look at the vision and what you're trying to accomplish throughout the whole collab and everything. So, yeah, it's interesting to me. And that's one thing I'm excited about, just, talking about how the game's in a good place. I think we're going to start to see so much more of that. And, I love analyzing all that stuff and breaking it down, educating people on, just the magnitude of it all. And we're starting to see more players that are open to being a part of the campaigns and modeling and doing all that. Even players that are coming back and faces that you haven't seen in a while, like Gretzky doing some stuff with OVO. And even for that Kith collab, like they pulled Messier to be a part of the shoot. So, yeah, pretty dope, man. I'm excited for all the future of it, too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this stuff helps grow the game in a sense, too. But Derek, you had some-
I was just going to say a side note because it's still relevant with the last round of the playoffs, but Bieber pulling up to the Maple Leafs games in just absolute fits, I think is it's a good look for hockey. It's great. And he's just like fully leaning into his fandom, which is awesome.
Yeah. That's a great point too, and that's shit that that happens that I even miss, and like you don't even think about it or see it till like you bring it up. That's a great point. Yeah, and it's like it's so good for hockey that he's a Leafs fan, whether the Leafs succeed or not. Like it's just the fact that he's ringside at the game, just sitting behind the glass, like literally an arm's distance from all the players. Like he's one of the biggest.
He's trying to get a
supporters
"Let's
of the
Go
Leafs.
Leafs" chant going in the whole section and stuff, and he's got his wife in a Leafs starter jacket, like. It's good. It's good for the game for a person like that to be so big and be pushing, and just treating it like he's a regular fan,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the game needs more of that, and I think we're starting to see that more and more, especially during playoffs, too. Playoffs is such a fun atmosphere to be in. Obviously, an 82-game regular season, it's always could be tough, but, all eyes are on the playoffs, and especially now. Now we're in Eastern and Western Conference Final. Another 2 weeks will be Cup Final, so...
I feel like
the stars are out, man.
Washington does a great job with like their celebrity like status, like who they bring out to games. Like saw Wale at a game. Who else was there? They had a couple UFC fighters.
Juicy
like,
J. Yeah.
Juicy J. I mean, yeah. So like, yeah, the Washington really pulls
Bands
out all
that
the
make
stuff.
good
Yeah.
dance.
Jinx.
Bands that make good dance.
Jinx owe me a lake hour.
Oh shit. Oh yeah. We're getting sponsor alert.
We'll talk about
But,
that later.
Yeah, it's been a good playoffs. I feel like there's been a lot of support and there's been some good content coming out, and good to see the celebrities showing out for it. So,
Facts.
Yeah, boys. I mean, it's kind of all I had. I don't know if you guys had anything else. I know we have a lot of other things on our notes that we're going to be chatting about throughout the summer and as we continue to keep this train moving.
Oh yeah, I love it. A lot of good stuff that we talked about in the beginning too. Just kind of covering our bases on some stuff. Excited about everything that we have coming out, and even all the stuff that we didn't talk about, like collabs and everything, product, merch, everything to come.
Yeah, I know we've got a lot of stuff going on in the next few weeks just with travel. You guys are going to Nashville next week, so we're probably going to have to do a few remote podcasts. So we're going to try and get those rolling and really try and stay consistent
catch
with these.
the fellows at Wish Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
point.
yeah. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna be at Wish Cup. I don't even know what the date is. It's gonna be probably the weekend of that. This episode comes out. So yeah, we're gonna be down there. We're gonna be slinging bubbles. We're gonna have color bubbles available. We're gonna have 4 different styles, youth and adult, available. So yeah, come out, hang out with the boys. We're gonna be down there. We'll probably have like 4 or 5 of us down there. So yeah, gonna be in Nashville for a long weekend, just hanging out.
Get your bubbles.
Get your bubbles.
That's facts.
That should be what do they call those? What does the artist call them?
Oh,
Ad lib.
Yeah.
ad lib or a producer tag.
after the color bubbles, just like at the end of the ad, just.
I like that.
But yeah, no, this was good. It's good to be back in the groove here, and
Yeah.
stoked for what we have to come.
Let's go. 25.
Episode 25. Yeah, let's go.